All right. Well, welcome back, Jackie. It's good to have you here again. Oh,
Riley, I'm so
Jackie.
happy and safe in the space with you. I
Oh,
can't wait.
ditto, ditto. And we were catching up just for a few minutes, and I feel like we found a groove. And so we're recording this on August 1st, 2024. And I was telling Jackie that this month astrologically is kind of a big month where there's a lot of change scheduled for kind of like the cosmic alarm clock. It's like, okay, enough of that and on to the next thing. And in tarot, if anybody's familiar, it's like the tower card where the old thing crumbles and most people have like kind of an adverse reaction to the tower card. They're like, oh no, not the tower card. But when the old thing crumbles and falls away, there's space then for what comes next in the journey, which is the star card, which is like our soul's higher calling and like the light you alone came here to shine onto the planet, which almost everybody loves the star card. So I think there's a little bit of both of these energies coming up this month. And I wonder, Jackie, how you see that dynamic maybe already playing out in your world, the crumbling
Yeah,
and the shining.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've recently recognized that I go through these pain cycles. And I don't love the name of that. I don't know. I want something a little bit more jazzy that'll come to me at some point. But in those times, I get really introspective and I might struggle with my self worth.
Mm,
Might is actually should be replaced with I do. I
right.
do.
Totally.
And it feels like confusion. It feels like analysis paralysis. It feels like overall unworthiness.
Mm,
And in order for me to move forward and grow, I need to get through that. And I've just started to recognize that it happens. And before it's happened to an extent where I got burned out, right? And it caused burnout. And now I catch that a bit more that I've become so accustomed to it. That's what happens, right? We become to accustomed to the things that um, don't feel good. And ideally, we work on that. So we
mhm.
recognize it moving forward, ideally.
Yeah.
So as I am breaking free of this cycle and really evolving into this next phase, this next growth period for myself, I started to see some areas of my business that were really no longer a fit. Um, and I'd known it, right? But the conversation started to happen in unexpected ways and all within the past week.
Mm,
And in ways that were healthy for me, that were healthy for them. And what it did was just showed a clear path towards more of what I'm looking for, things that are more aligned. And it was such a beautiful moment to be able to see that and one, stand in my worth and my value,
mm,
right? And then get excited about what's to come. You know, I can very confidently say that a year and a half, 2 years ago, I would have had a significant amount of anxiety. I would have spent the day in tears. Um, I would have panicked. I would have called everyone I was close to that I felt comfortable talking to about this,
mm.
and sat in it just with fear.
And like the event was the client that you already knew wasn't a fit saying what? Like what did they say?
Yeah. So, saying that they had different goals for ways forward.
Yeah.
And so it no longer aligned with the work that I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a parting of the
Yes.
business relationship.
Yes.
Everybody's moving on. And
Exactly.
so 2 years ago, that would have pushed you into anxiety, tears, calling all the friends.
Questioning myself. What did
Oh
I do
no.
wrong? How am I
Oh,
not valuable enough? Did I say something? Did I do something? It would have become about me not being good enough.
oh. And so relatable.
Yeah.
Oh. And
And
now,
then panic,
oh,
right?
right,
And
right.
now
Yeah.
um, I honored the moment. So I caught myself in the beginning of those thoughts and no, no, that's a lie, right? I took the time and I went and I said, all right, I'm going to have some mindfulness for me. And I gave myself, you know, 12 minutes of that. And then I said, all right, now I'm going to take out my journal, right? I got to articulate my feelings. Let's go through this.
Hmm.
And I wrote it out, right? And I cried and I got the tears out and I went through the fear and the feelings and even just the I'm okay. And sometimes I'm scared that I'm not okay. And the potential shame that was coming up in me, but really realizing it wasn't shame. But I had to get it out of my head. And I knew that if I had followed my initial reaction, which was get to work, go sit
Mm,
down and work,
mm.
right? That I would have spent the day with my stomach tearing up and not actually doing anything that was good, right? Likely just staring at my laptop, clicking between tabs or screens and not doing anything.
I laugh because it's relatable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let me stare
right?
at my work. That'll help.
Yeah. Or like, I should record something. I should get on social. I should. Why? And what am I going to say? I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. So instead,
Oh,
I took that time and I gave myself the time and I cried it out and I wrote
yeah.
it out and I got it
Yeah.
out of my head. And then I went and I did another mindfulness practice. And actually, this mindfulness one I did while putting my makeup on. And for me, I am the kind of person, I am glam squad. I feel great when I do my hair and makeup. It's important to me. And this meeting today was another reason for me to do it, but I probably would have done it anyway
Mm,
uh, in this moment. And during that, I use that time to also be mindful, right? To, feel the brushes,
hmm.
um, to listen to the sounds, to notice the colors. I do all of that during that
Yeah.
time. So that becomes my own practice. And then I came back and
Yeah.
got on with my day and felt invigorated.
Yeah. And at this point, having done the processing, you clearly didn't bypass anything. If anything, you were like, let's dive right into it. Let's lean in. Okay. Let's just call it what it is. This is moving some energy.
Yeah.
This change is moving some energy. Let me acknowledge that and let it move. And if that means emotions and thoughts and all kinds of things. So you did the work. And now, after doing the work, how do you see this change of the client initiating like a parting of the ways?
Mhm. Well, I'm grateful that I still feel confident about it. In that moment, I could feel like, oh, this is the sign of goodness. And I still needed to work through the stuff,
Yeah.
right? But now I can not just feel that way, but I can take action in a way that feels aligned. Um, and I'm not perseverating on something.
Hmm.
I'm not spinning around, like the bottom of the drain with this
Yeah.
noise. and pain. And I allowed myself to actually feel it and know, like, all right, I might feel good about it. And I could also at the same time not feel good about it. So
Totally.
let's take care of that.
Yeah. Emotions are irrational by
Hmm.
nature. And I think I talk about that more like on the gratitude end of things, where like I see gratitude as like one of the ways that a lot of people, myself included sometimes, like can spiritually bypass something. Like,
Mm.
I'm really
Mhm.
grateful, therefore all is well. And it's like, well, I mean, you can be really grateful and
Yep.
anxious and
Hmm.
dissatisfied and
Hmm.
done with something and ready for it to change. Like you can be both of these things and maybe even a bunch more things, like all at the same time. So you seeing it as a good thing and a slightly upsetting thing at the same time, like makes total sense to me. And so like letting all of it have space, like
Yeah.
seems masterful.
Thank
Kudos.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel great about it.
Amazing.
And that concept of both and is difficult.
The mind doesn't want anything to do with it. The
Mm-mm.
intellect is like, it's one or it's two. It's black
Right.
or it's white. Pick one. And it's like, dude, our emotions don't work like that. It's
Mm.
like it could be checking seven boxes at a time. Like, you don't know. All of the above.
Exactly. Life doesn't like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It's
Yeah.
okay. Feel multiple things at once. You know,
Yeah.
I think most emotions have multiple sides to them. You know, like grief is really love and sadness is really joy. And like there's all kinds of emotions that have
Mm.
multiple faces on the same thing. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. It's
yeah,
like getting this amazing new job and at the same time leaving a place where you have so many memories and people that you're so close to
yeah,
and taught you so much, right?
yeah,
You're going to have a lot of feelings.
yeah. Which reminds me, like, back to where we started here, as far as like August being this moment of like the tower card of endings of what's gotten you to this point, and the star card of moving closer to like your soul's higher calling and what you really ultimately want to be doing and what's an even better fit for you. And
Mhm.
none of that makes the things that are ending or have to come to an end, that doesn't make them not valuable. It doesn't mean that that was a waste at all. Like it got you to this point. That also doesn't mean that it needs to come with you, you know? So like endings are not a bad thing inherently, unless we decide that that's what it is. And then it very much is what it is. But it doesn't have to be like that. It can be a clearing of energy, you know, like a completion point of like we did our work together and that's over now and we both have different objectives and we're moving towards those and wish you the best, you know? Like it's okay. Totally okay.
Absolutely. I mean, you go to a movie, you sit in the theater, the movie's over, you don't stay in the theater.
That's such a good analogy. Yeah. No, it's not supposed
Mm.
to end. Kind
Right.
of it is, you know, like that's, and it's
Mm.
okay. The
Yeah.
ending is kind of what gives it meaning,
Hmm.
you know, like it helps you to be present and be grateful for it while it's happening, knowing that in this dimension of reality anyway, like everything ends.
Hmm.
Nothing's permanent. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh. So do you have a sense of like what this freed up energy? I mean, I know this was like today and this week, so totally understandable if not, but like of this space that's being opened and created in your world, in your awareness, like nature does not leave a vacuum empty for long, right? Nature fills a vacuum. So, any sense of like what might be spinning around you that's like going to be being drawn into this newly open space or what you hope it is? Like what you're
Mm.
wishing for. The star card is kind of about wishes, wishes coming true.
Yeah, so I would say it allows space for more speaking.
Mm,
So more time on stage, which I appreciate. It allows space for more of my coaching clients to have space with me.
yeah.
And I'm going to be launching a special coming soon, calling it the She Suite. And I am very excited because it is an opportunity for high achieving women of color and allies to work with me and really progress them through so they're claiming their seat at the table confidently.
Yeah. Yeah. And what goes into that work? I mean, it's easy to put into, well, maybe not easy. I've been working on my own one-liner of like, I help so and so. It's harder than you think to finish that sentence. But yeah, claiming their seat at the table confidently. What are
Mhm.
some of the pillars of that work that come
Yeah.
into place for somebody to be able to do that?
So we're going to be using the VIP process, which will include vision,
Ooh.
implementation, and power.
Did you make that up?
Mhm.
Dude, you're so good with the acronyms. Last time you had magic. This time you've got VIP. I love it. So vision, implementation,
And
and
power.
power. Okay. Okay. You want to talk us through those?
So I'll give you a little teaser into it about
Fantastic.
that.
Yes.
So we're going to start with vision, and that's how we get you settled into the space and start by understanding what are the three things that you want to feel, right?
Okay.
The emotions that you want your life to feel like every single day.
Yeah.
And we start there in order to get a solid understanding of where we're going. And we start to evaluate from there. We're going to get curious throughout the time. We're going to implement new things looking at, the negative noise that's happening.
Mm.
We're going to sort through that nonsense. And we're going to bring in some of the tools that we use in magic as well, because it is all part of creating this space
Yeah.
to actually retrain your brain
Yeah.
and bring your heart along for the ride and get ready to stand in your power.
Mm. Very good. Juicy. Do you, off the top of your head, like what are some of the feelings that come to mind of like what you want your world to feel like every day?
Mm,
What do you aim for?
yeah. So, my world, I look um, for peace, empowerment,
Mm.
and love.
Mm. Amazing. Yeah.
What do you think yours would be?
Well, I did a program earlier this year and she had like a very similar exercise, called it something different, but it was like uh and she had some where we could choose from them. And the ones that I picked, confidence was one. Um, unity was another one, and radiance,
Mm.
like glowing. Yeah.
So, what does unity look like for you?
Like oneness, like remembering the part of me that is you and seeing the part of you that is me
Mm.
and realizing that everything is already present and that there never is absence or separation.
So, how does that show up for you?
Like in absence or in when it's
in
working?
your daily life.
Yeah. Yeah, like, well, let's say, like manifesting a partner, like a romantic partner, okay? Um, in some terms, in some versions of reality, he's not here, okay? Meaning like physically speaking, like I'm not in a relationship. But
Mhm.
at the same time, there is a part of me that knows like soul to soul outside of time, this relationship already exists.
Hmm.
Like there's a timeline, there's a space on that timeline where this relationship is already happening. And so, like, when I start to go into lack, I will actually go and like look in on that timeline
Hmm.
and realize that, like, the only reason I want this thing is because the future me is already living it. So, like, closing the separation, like,
Hmm.
eliminating it from the equation. Another example, and this one was just yesterday, and that's why it's fresh, but like I was in a bit of frustration around like I want to be seen. I I want to be more visible. I want to put myself out there more, all the things. And one of the pieces that came to me was like basically seeing myself, like using my present moment right here, right now self to look in on my 5-year-old self and to see her and to like kind of again close the gap of I don't even necessarily know that it is the right here right now version of me that wants to be seen. It's some version of me. And so when there is that lack again, like feeling like I'm not seen enough, it's not enough, there's not enough attention, there's not enough love, whatever it is, finding a part of me that can be in that experience, that
Hmm.
can create that experience myself, like tapping into the quantum oneness of like it's all only me anyway,
Hmm.
like we're all just one. And so unity to me is like very very healing and possibly a little spiritual bypassy, again, because like you end up stepping up out of like what is currently happening. Like, does that mean that I don't want to put myself out there more? Does that mean that
Hmm.
I don't want like to be seen more in my current work? Like, I still want those things, but kind of like what you were saying of like, am I sitting down at my computer being like, I need to get out there. I need to go live. I need to post on social. Like coming from that energy of frustration and lack and anxiety, like not the energy that I want to put out into my work and have my views like magnetized to that. I want
Yeah.
to come from love and wholeness and, like when possible, I want to come from those places. And so I actually went and got a little picture of myself. I have two pictures. Yeah.
Yay.
Hugging myself and then hugging my kitty. That's 5 and 7-year-old me. And so now they're sitting here hanging out on my desk with me. And proactively, like when I want to be more seen, I look at her, like that
Mm.
version of me that really truly did feel invisible for good reason. And
Yeah.
she's not now because I see her. And so unity is almost like, I would say, like a self unity, like unifying
Mm.
all timelines of self, my future, my past, my present. Yes, that's a very long answer to your question.
Oh, there's so much beauty in that. So, personally, I think any chance you get to spend with little you is such a gift.
Yeah. She
and
loves it.
such a reminder, yeah, of your goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I love that. And then you also said I wouldn't want these things if future me didn't already have them.
That's what I
I
believe.
just think that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
there's something that's so grounded in that or grounding about it that you're
Hmm.
just like, and so it is.
It's done. It's
Yeah.
already done. She's already got it. And this
Yeah.
feeling, this pull that I have towards that thing, that isn't here yet,
Hmm.
that's just that's my guidance, letting me know
Yeah.
like she's in love with that thing. And I
Hmm.
seek it and seek it and seek it and seek it. And like I think about all the things that I have already in my life right now that used to be
Yeah.
pulls like that. And now I'm living it. And I see why I was seeking it. Cause yeah, it's amazing.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I imagine the future things are like that too. It's done.
That's,
Yeah. Like they
yes.
say, like what's meant to be yours, like can't miss you.
Hmm.
It's meant for you. It's in your soul contract. Like it's a done deal. We signed that before we got here, is what I believe, you know, big believer in the soul contract.
So since we last talked,
Yes.
um, you experienced a magic moment session,
Ooh, yes, I did.
and I would love to hear your experience, what that was like for you.
Mm. I mean, I want to like shout out, it was so good, but like that just doesn't even do it justice. I mean, I'll share a little bit about the process of first, before the session, Jackie had me take an online assessment to figure out what my saboteurs looked like. And so I got this like result, this like list of there's 9 of them and what the score was on each of these saboteurs. And I mean, it only gives you a word, but even just reading the words, I'm like, I get it. I relate to like these things at the top. Yep, that makes sense. Um, and so then when we got into the session, you started by talking about the judge. And that's not on the list of like the assessment of what are your top saboteurs. And you explained like the judge, it judges ourselves, it judges other people, it judges the circumstances of the world, and it is kind of like the king saboteur. And we all have it, and it's the top one for all of us. And then these other ones that show up on your report are the accomplices. So these guys are just backing up the judge. So what was so interesting about that is that I had just finished um, a mini program called The Worthiness Habit. And that is, I mean, it's about embodying like untouchable worthiness to where that's your default setting. And so much of that program is rooted in radical self acceptance, basically the opposite of judgment. Like judgment gets in the way of worthiness. And so I had just spent like a month thinking about that exact topic. And then you're telling me like the judge is the king saboteur for everyone. And that alone, like we hadn't even gotten into like my personal assessment results yet. And that already was like blowing my mind that judgment is like the king of self-sabotage.
Mm.
Just deciding like these snap judgments that often we don't even recognize them as judgments. We think they're just the truth, like we don't even realize we're doing it. And so we started with that one, and you asked me like, do you catch it judging other people or yourself more often. And I think I said myself, since then, though, I catch myself judging people all the time. And there's part of me that's a little ashamed to admit that. And then there's part of me that's like, no, like at least if I see that I'm doing it, it's not unconscious anymore. At least now it's conscious and I can choose to listen to it or to have compassion for self and others. At least seeing it gives me the choice. So, like, whatever. Um, so that was that part, which again, learning about the judge was very profound for me. And then I think like the other really profound piece that stands out to me is like the the angle of your session was about the negative noise and the saboteur assessment about like how do you self-sabotage? What does your unique self-sabotage look like? Um, cat hair all over me all the time. Um, that's how I self-sabotage. I got cat hair everywhere. Um, but my top one is the controller. So that's like my judge's top accomplice is the controller. And when I saw that on my assessment, I was like, yeah, I get that. How people have even told me that I'm too controlling. And like the next ones I think were the pleaser, which is essentially like being a people pleaser, and hyper rational, which is like really over dependent on thoughts and not giving enough credit to emotions or like feeling your feelings kind of thing. And so all of those made total sense. And as a human, like I started to be like, yeah, gosh, I wish I wasn't like that. And, like kind of going down the road of like judging myself. The judge is in full force. And like, you shouldn't be like that. Why are you like that? And you said something that has stuck with me. This was like 2 months ago, and I still think about it, is like the this I think the way you put it was like the strength of the saboteur. Like my controller was like really strong. And it's like the strength of that is about how that can get in your way, but also there's potential. There's a gift inside of each of these saboteurs where, like, the controller, for example, has leadership potential. Like, yes, maybe you do control even when it's not necessary, but also you are willing to step forward and take responsibility and take charge and gather the troops and set a direction. And like, in some cases that needs to happen. And so every saboteur contains a gift that like there's potential for what your gifts might look like. And like there's a whole nother side of it that is more gift oriented. But yeah, that was like definitely took some air out of the judge's tires to be like, see, like you don't need to beat up on yourself because you're so controlling. Like it's okay. Like this is a muscle that exists in you. And kind of like anything else, like it has a shadow side and it has a light side. So yeah, I think those were my main takeaways. The one other thing that's coming to mind was realizing that our saboteurs, like the ones that we developed in early childhood as a means of protecting ourselves and keeping ourselves safe and surviving. And so, again, taking some air out of the judge to be like, no, this was just how you kept yourself safe. So, like, the root of self sabotage is in self protection. And like something about that feels really loving to me, even though sabotage is one of those things that like has a negative connotation around it. I mean, we did it because we wanted to stay alive. And now we have these muscles that are what they are. And yeah, what are you going to do with it now is the question. And so I learned a lot about self-sabotage and myself and the way that those things present themselves. And um, yeah, like the magic formula. I remember this too. Like I told you, this was 2 months ago, and I remember this like it was yesterday of like
Mm.
interrupting when you notice, when you catch, like, oh, there's my judge. Oh, there's my controller. There's my pleaser. And then interrupting, kind of like you were saying, of like, I felt myself starting to really swirl. And so I paused and went and did some mindfulness practices. And you taught me several during the call. And I've done mostly the hand one where I like rub my fingertips on my palm. I love that one. Um, yeah, like just pause for a minute. Give yourself a moment of like being just in the present moment and then go back to it if you really need to. Like, no big
Mm.
deal, but yeah, just some actual practical techniques for like how to be with those patterns and not attack them or force yourself to quit doing those things, but to diminish those potentially sabotaging patterns little by little so that they don't eat up energy and you can use that energy for things that you actually want. So I highly, highly recommend these sessions. I mean, there was so much in it. And I think it was like 45 minutes, if I'm remembering right, that we stayed on. So, yeah, I mean, jam packed with so much value that you get to learn about yourself and how to deal with it in a productive way so that your energy is more intentionally focused. And who doesn't want that? I don't know anybody who doesn't want that. My people usually want
Carly,
that.
that was amazing. You're going to be part of
Dude,
my sales team.
dude, it was so good. That's where I started was it was so good, but that is not good enough. So let me give you the 20-minute version of like how good it really was. How
I'm so excited. And
memorable,
I really want to
obviously.
celebrate all the ways that you're catching your saboteurs too.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
That's
To just
huge.
be aware of them. And at least then you get to chuckle. Like I was in a meeting the other day and I nominated myself group leader. Like unconsciously, just it was so I looked back on it and was like, what is it that you can't just sit there and like see how it's going to play out? Like there
Mm.
was almost no like just a tiny little space of nobody's doing anything. And I'm like, all right, let's move this along. Like, so we're going to do this and we're going to do this and I'll set up this and I'll do this and like, I just like grabbed the reins and was like, all right, here we go. And I'm like, why can't you just sit there and chill? Cause I don't know. I don't know the answer to that yet, but it was just funny how my controller just like can't handle the nobody's leading the charge. Okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
But it makes me think like that's the gift side, right? And what I imagine is that everyone else in that group took a sigh of relief.
In this case, they did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, because
they took a sigh of relief.
they both are avoiders, which is one of my lower ones. Yeah. So yeah, they were
Yeah.
more than happy to be like, okay, good, good. She's doing it. She's got the thing. She's gonna make sure we have the like it was totally fine in this
Yeah,
setting.
super. And thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like Gene Keys has a very similar concept of like every shadow contains a gift. And I
Hmm.
felt like that's present here too, of like every saboteur contains a gift.
Hmm.
And the problem, and I ran into this a lot at my corporate job,
Hmm.
is like when it's not your job, it's like
Hmm.
legit not your job to take the reins. Somebody else is holding them and slacking and not doing anything with the reins. Oh God, I can't stand it. It gives me so much
Oh,
anxiety and I want
I
to
remember.
grab the reins. And then you get in trouble for stepping on people's toes. And I did not work well in an environment like that with relaxed leadership. Like wonder if it's like I don't feel safe. I don't know.
Mm,
There's something about it that gives me a lot of anxiety when I don't, there's
yeah,
not like a strong leadership presence happening.
yeah.
I don't
But
know.
you know that about you.
I do now. I never had language
Yeah,
for that before.
yeah.
I mean, these are
It's so
newly
interesting.
articulated knowings.
It, I love that. It's so interesting that when we get language, it really creates its own level of comfort.
100%. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was a whole new language.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely done a lot of shadow work, but never had like names like this
Mm,
before. So, yeah, it was very helpful.
I love that. And I appreciate that too. And every time that you are calling them out, it's actually um, building that mental muscle in the other direction.
Mm,
So even just that simple step, right? Because what it is that's getting you out of, that autopilot that we're on so often.
right. Yeah.
And that's not easy.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, amazing things to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That means,
The other one, this wasn't, this, I think this is like maybe my fourth one, but the stickler
hmm
is really strong in me as well. And like I was on a Zoom the other day where the beginning, the guy was like, okay, so we're going to take questions. And when we call on you, um, everybody will get to ask one question and then we'll move on to the next one. And the second lady that he called on, she asked her question. He answered it. He tried to move on. She's like, I have another question. And she asked another question. And it started to like give me just a little bit of anxiety. And he answered her question and he tries to move on. She's like, so I have one more question. And I was like having like a full-on panic attack by this point. Like I had to mute the thing and like do some deep breathing. Like her, I'm just gonna give this a voice. Like her blatant just like disregard of his spoken expectation. Like it just like was literally making my skin crawl. And I was like, what the fuck? What is this that like is not even your rule? You learned this rule like 5 seconds ago, and you don't even know these people. And like her breaking the rules, I was like, oh God, can't handle it. And so afterwards, I got to laugh about that one too. Like,
I love this example so much because I have a stickler as well.
okay.
We all have different elements of them, and it just depends on when they're higher or lower. And
Mm,
I always had trouble figuring out, like, I don't understand, right? Where is my stickler? That doesn't fully make sense to me. And I would think that because my husband and stepdaughter are like very things need to be this way, and this is how it goes, and this is and it's and I feel like, ooh, I'm loosey goosey flexible in comparison. And yes, I am. And this example shows me exactly where it shows up.
that's funny.
I feel the exact same way. We
Yeah.
heard the rules.
Yeah.
Where, why did you hear the rules?
Yeah.
Why are you asking the question that they asked 2 minutes ago? I don't understand. The answer's right there in the chat. Scroll up. Scroll up.
Oh
What's
my God.
happening?
Oh my God. Like my judge was in full force on that Zoom also of like judging the people's questions of like he just said
Yeah.
that. She just asked that question, like and he would answer the question and then somebody would like be like, "So you're saying," and they would say something completely not the answer that he just said and he would have to repeat himself and like my anxiety was just like I was like, "What is this?" Like before learning about self-sabotage, I would have thought like I don't self-sabotage. Like I don't hardly ever spend any time in self-sabotage. That's wrong. That's just like wrong. It's not true. I spend a lot of time in anxiety over things like this. And some of it like comes back to number one, I'm judging. Number two, I am out of control. I have no control over the situation to make it be different. they're not following the rules. I can't do anything about it. I need to mute the volume because I can't even
Mm.
witness this chaos right now. Like it's just like again, so
Or
embarrassing to admit, but
bring in
oh,
your
exactly.
practice at
Yes.
that moment.
Yes. Oh,
That's what it's there for.
yeah. Yeah.
That is so funny. I'm going to take that with me everywhere.
Yeah.
I do
Dude,
that.
you
But
know,
yeah,
and I can
yeah.
totally see where I was the oldest. I
Mm,
had three little brothers that are very close in age to me. My dad worked like on the road. He was gone for long time periods at a time. And my mom, like not when we were super young, but like by the time I'm in like third, fourth grade, like we'd come home and get off the bus and she wouldn't be there. And so we'd have like a few hours in the evening of like home, just us kids. And here I am. There's no leadership. There's no direction. There's no structure. There's no any of it. There's no order. There's just chaos. And I take control. And
mm,
I'm the boss and I'm taking care of them and I'm getting them a snack and I'm helping them with their homework and I'm giving this one a bath because he puked on the bus. And like there's
mm,
all of this like I've learned parentification, but
mhm,
control. There's like I'm the one that like again I appointed myself leader of the kids and nobody asked me to do that
mm,
and I felt very unsafe and unsupported and out of
mm,
control. Like
mm,
who's going to take care of us? And
mm,
that was a harder reality than the overwhelm of being a child and being like I'll be in control. I'll be in
mm,
charge. I'll take care of them. Because at least if I'm focused on taking care of them, I'm not thinking about how nobody's taking care of me. And again, like back to we grow these muscles because we had to, because your childhood like set you up to need to take care of yourself in whatever way you had to, whatever way the environment drew out of you. And yeah, it made me into a leader at a very young age.
Sounds like there's your answer for why you need strong leadership.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Well, again, back to nature abhors the vacuum.
Mm,
There's a giant vacuum of nobody leading anything. It's just the unknown. It's just open-ended.
mm,
And yeah, I'm very uncomfortable with that. But again, soul contracts, I believe that I wanted to be the oldest. I wanted these younger brothers. I wanted parents that were off doing what they were doing so that this vacuum was there, so that
mhm,
I became a leader at a very young age. Because, yeah, I mean, it led me on my path up to this point. But there's a there's a fine line between the gift side and I'm having a panic attack in
mm.
anxiety because, oh my God, she just asked a third question. Like, heaven forbid, she's asking too many questions. Like, it's ridiculous when you say it
It's
like
allowed
that.
one.
You're allowed one. We all heard the rules, okay? God. But for real, I was like, what are you doing over there? Oh man. Yeah. Mm,
I think little Carly deserves some extra love
mm,
and pampering,
mm.
where she doesn't have to be in charge.
Yeah.
She's just cared for.
Yeah. Mm,
And what could that feel like?
mm. Definitely new territory.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm this whole year, I've been healing around receiving.
Hmm.
and like letting myself receive, which as I like now have language for is like, right, you got to stop being in control and like just kind of like sit back and open up and like let life feed you grapes and fan you with a lily pad and like,
Mm.
yeah, pamper you.
Mhm.
And that's not my strong suit, but I'm getting there. I'm getting better at that. And it also reminds me of my next romantic relationship of
Mm.
like, you know, how I've thought about it is like when I can't receive, I'm also depriving somebody else the joy of giving to me and pampering me and nurturing me and supporting me and like they want to do those things. And if I shut it down, if I'm not available for it, that's like depriving us both of the pleasure of that experience. So I
Absolutely.
definitely get it. And as far as like how to practice that, feeling safe in receiving,
Mm.
yeah, I,
It's daily, right?
yeah, yes,
And
yes.
and it's situationally, and
Mm,
it involves that mindfulness, that awareness of what's happening. I'll give you an example. I The pleaser is high in me. And what that tends to look like is not wanting to receive,
yeah.
right? Wanting to receive, but not really being willing to,
Mm,
because I want to give and I don't want other people to feel uncomfortable and I want them to feel good.
yeah.
And I don't want them to go out of their way and all of these things, these stories that happen, right?
Yeah.
And I was invited to go see a friend the other day at her pool, and she invited me and my husband and daughter. And he ended up saying, "You know what? I'm going to drive you, and then I'll just pick you up later." And it was about a 45-minute drive away. He loves to drive, I don't. And we share a car, we're city dwellers.
Mm,
But yet, there was an immediate discomfort. Like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen. And I said, I didn't ask for you to do that. I wouldn't have asked that. And he said, I know, but I want you to go and enjoy yourself. And I know that you're interested in doing this. This will make you happy. And that was a way that he was showing love.
yeah.
And I recognized what it was making me feel, right? But ended up just saying, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for loving me that way,
Yeah.
for showing that you love me this way. I
Oh,
know that it's part of how you love me. And I'm really grateful.
yeah.
And he felt seen. And, um, I don't know what it would do to his manliness if I said that he was glowing, but there was some radiance
Was
happening.
glowing in a manly way. Yeah. I love it.
And I could tell that it meant a lot. And
Yeah.
it felt good for me to be able to say, wow, I can ask for something, or I don't even have to ask for something and I can receive it. And it's something that I really wanted to do. And it wasn't something we did together. It was just a really nice moment.
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's been other times where I haven't wanted to receive it. But yet, it's moment by moment.
Yeah. That's such a sweet example. And like reminds me of like different love languages and like him saying like I'll drive you and I'll pick you up. Like he's really saying like I love you, like it's so sweet. Um Hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
acts of service is high for him.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh, like he saw a way that he could support you, and
exactly.
he was excited to do that. That's precious.
Right.
Yeah.
And it had
Oh.
nothing in it for him.
Except getting to,
On the surface. On the
sure,
surface.
sure. Like in a transactional sense,
Yes.
but like in a way of like, he wants to love you. He wants to show his love for you. That's something in it for him, you
Yes.
know? He got to be
Exactly.
loving. And yeah. And again, like if you had been like, no, that's silly. Like, why would you do that? Like, I don't need you to do that. Like,
Yeah.
it
I'll
squashes it
cancel. I
for
won't
both
do
of
it.
you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
instead, it opened it up.
Yeah. Oh, and like receiving in some ways sounds like it could be the easiest thing in the world, and for me is very challenging. I mean, I feel like it like spotlights your worthiness.
Hmm.
It spotlights like how safe do you feel with this person?
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, like even the act of like relaxing and opening,
Mm.
like I'm thinking about, in a dynamic with a romantic partner and receiving, I would need to feel safe. And what would make me feel safe is like a strong leadership presence.
Mm.
And it's really interesting because I'm a controller. I almost always end up dating people that have a sigh of relief. She's in control. Great. Oh, she's got it. Great. And then they'd sit back and they chill. And that eats at me in not much time.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, as you soothe the noise of the controller so that you can have that ease and just lean into the gifts, does that then attract somebody who has the gift?
Yeah. Yeah. I I need to leave a vacuum of space for
Mm.
somebody else with leadership to step into that.
Mm.
Versus like I can't stand it when there's a vacuum and I take all the leadership and I'm like, I got it. And
Mm.
then I don't feel safe to relax and receive, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, it's an interesting paradigm. Like we're back at relationships here. I'm sure the
Hmm.
self-sabotage thing, like it plays out in all arenas of life, but yeah, this definitely makes sense as far as wanting so badly to receive and seeing my side of the street of like, I don't even necessarily find myself in relationships where that's easily done, you know?
Mm.
Like I end up with people who want me to be the leader, and then I feel
Mm.
like unsafe. And so I keep being the leader. And yeah,
Mm.
it's an interesting dynamic that again I've never had language for. I've never been able to see it this clearly before. And so that feels like on time, you know?
Mm.
Thank you.
I wonder if, happy to help. I wonder if you can start to notice and look for ways that you can receive
Mm,
in different ways, right? And in different
yeah,
spaces. We
yeah.
do it a lot in our friendships too, right? We do it in business. Um, how can we receive fully?
Mm,
The fact that you said yes to a magic moment session is one way that you were willing to receive.
yeah,
And I want to honor that because oftentimes we can say, no, I don't want to do that. And what if I'm taking up the time? And I don't know. Nope. That was owning worth,
yeah,
right? And being open
yes,
and willing.
yeah,
So, that's something to celebrate
yeah.
and show what you've done there.
Mm,
And what are other ways in your week that might allow you to receive differently?
mm.
Be
Thank
on the
you for
hunt.
that question and the celebration. What were you saying?
Oh, I said be on the hunt, be a detective.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. One of my friends actually does come to mind where, yeah, I feel very safe and relaxed in her
Mm,
presence. And she does have a very strong energy and it puts me at ease. Like I know she's got it. Like I don't, you know, I just get to be there and have fun and whatever. And like that's not always the case. And, there's also the part of me that loves control, loves being the leader,
mm,
like I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a I'm a coach. I like it. I like to be the guide, be the out in front person. And I want to know how to turn it on and off. And so I love
mm,
this advice of like practice turning it off in small ways. Practice opening up to receive in small one-off situations where you feel safe to do that. And like almost like I'm a scientist, like study what what were the variables, what were the factors that let you receive, you
mm,
know? Because like same, like with my friend, like with you, I felt safe to put myself in your hands and like, yeah, show me what it is. Guide me
mm,
through, and just sit back and let you have the reins, give you the reins and don't snatch them back, Carly. Just leave them over there and just see what pleasure this experience has. And it did,
mm.
like it felt so good to be seen and witnessed and held and supported in that space. And yeah. So I mean like it seems like at this point it's a conscious choice and that's okay because it's so new, like to find places where I feel safe and consciously sit back and relax. Yeah.
And consider whether it's a journal prompt or just a daily pondering
Mm-hmm.
of where today did I have the chance to receive?
Mm,
Did I
nice.
accept it or did I resist it?
Yeah.
Because it happens to us daily. There's
Yeah.
always opportunities.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, every day I do that.
Mhm.
Like I've got all kinds of examples coming to me. We're like, Carly, you're doing better than you think you are. This is always what I say
Yay.
to my clients, like, you're not giving yourself enough credit. And classic, I'm not giving myself enough credit for how well I'm doing in this practice of receiving. But that's okay. Like even the journal prompt and like practice seeing it,
Mhm,
catch yourself doing it.
mhm.
Yeah, totally. Hmm.
You mentioned the friend that makes you feel safe or has just got it and you can sit back and relax. I have a group of friends, big group of friends, and I used to be in more of a controller role in the space. And then over the years, I watched other people stepping up to do that. And it became such a space of that I didn't like the way it made me feel anymore to
Hmm.
even be involved in it. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was because it was a lack of control at that point, or
Mm-hmm.
my stickler was like, this is not working to the way I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it wasn't feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched my role and ended up eventually making a conscious choice to go, cool, I'll just show up
Mm-hmm.
and trust the rest.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty in that because at the end of the day, I'm not feeling any of the angst or discomfort
Yeah.
that was giving me. I was great at leading and I don't need to.
Yeah. You use such a good word there of like, I'll just trust.
Mm.
I wrote down a quote not too long ago that like control is the opposite of trust. And it just like almost brought me to my knees because this year, my 2024 mantra is the year of trust. I'm like teaching myself trust and like studying it and figuring out like what does that even mean and how do you do that? How do you get your body to trust, to open into trust? And then to find out that during my year of trust that my top saboteur other than the judge is control. And yeah, it just like kind of all goes together of again back to safety. Like the less I trust all is well, the more I feel like I need to control.
Mm.
And you know, another phrase that's coming to mind is like all trust is self-trust.
Mm.
And that's really hard for me to wrap my mind around because it's like, no, I don't trust them. Like
Mm.
it's them I don't trust, not me. And it's like, if all trust is self-trust,
Mm.
that means like I don't trust myself to be in the unknown. I don't trust
Mm.
myself to be in the chaos. I don't trust myself to be okay if the
Mm.
shit hits the fan and like somebody else is leading and I don't know what's going on. And like, I don't trust myself to be in the hard moment. And when I say it like that, I'm like, yes, I do. But my body really doesn't,
Mm.
like my body, like on that meeting a few days ago, like my body jumps into control mode. Like
Yeah.
I'm the group leader. Okay. Nobody nominated me. I just did it. Like it's a deep not trusting of the situation.
Mm.
And so to like tie all of these things together, control, trust, safety into a big pretzel of like even just having the language to, chart your own unique pretzel of struggle and anxiety. And yeah, like what is it that puts you into sabotage mode? What is it that saps your energy, takes energy away from creatively putting it towards whatever it is that actually matters to you, that like is your star card? If we go
Mm.
back to the tower and the star, like one of the things that I think is crumbling for me at this moment is my patterns of control, which is to say, like my patterns of not trusting, like not trusting in the situation, not trusting in myself, looking for external cues as far as like, am I safe? Am I okay? Versus like the universe is my safety net and it always has my
Mm.
back. And if things are crumbling in the right here, right now, then that means like that's what's best. And like I can trust myself to be with the crumbling and
Mm.
the in between and whatever comes next. And like when I say that consciously, I know that's true, but does my body believe it? We're getting there. And so
Mm.
maybe by the end of August, maybe like a month from now, I would love that. As far as like maybe my body is coming along, is like taking a big step forward towards catching up with where all of this is headed, with
Mm.
trusting and surrendering to receiving all the beautiful things that life has.
I can't wait to hear that update.
Yeah, dude, me too.
It's funny as you mentioned that. I think the crumbling for me is probably around playing it small.
Mm.
I have heard from multiple people, experts, coaches that I trust, including yourself. You said beautifully, shine your light. And I've heard you need to stop hiding
Mm.
and the world needs to see you. And what I thought to myself this morning in that journaling was, I don't want to be the best kept secret.
Mm.
Yeah.
Dude,
So we've got a really exciting month ahead for us.
I can't wait. I can't wait to live it and to, yeah, to share with each other, like, how'd it go? What happened? And for anybody else who's watching this, like, I would love to know. I would be super curious to read the comments on, like, what's crumbling for you? You
Mm.
know, what is the new that's coming online for you? And if your wish was going to be coming true in August, what is it that you're wishing for? You know? So yeah, I would, dude, I hope there's some of those down below that we get to see. And then yes, like check in a month from now and see how's life looking at this point. 30 days is a long time. It's a short time and it's a long time. Change can happen very fast when it's time.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine. Oh, oh. Jackie, are you still offering your Magic Moments session? Like if people are into that, if they're like,
100%.
whoa, I want one of these, like they can still go and book that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love that.
Amazing.
In the notes,
Yes.
please sign up. Spend 45 minutes with me. We'll go through your unique negative noise and find ways to silence the nonsense.
Yeah. Reclaim some energy for
Mhm.
your wishes.
I love
Yes. Amazing. Okay. Well, yes, hopefully you'll come back and we'll do another installment of this conversation as we leap through time together.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.